Hello, Mark here, trust you're well. Welcome to a recording of a live Lightroom skills and support session that I hosted back in August 2025. Now, in this session, we looked at setting up Lightroom Classic, the settings of the catalogue, and how you can optimize how Lightroom Classic runs on your computer. If you'd like to come and join us live on these events, just visit lightroommark.com. Below the introductory video, there's all the upcoming events, and you'll see the narratives of the main theme for the evening. And then we look at a random task that I choose, perhaps from my workflow or experience, or perhaps somebody's asked a few weeks before, and we need to spend a little bit more time looking at that. And then our time is concluded by your challenges. What do you need help with? What's causing you problems with Lightroom and Lightroom Classic? So I hope you'd like to come and join us one day, lightroommark.com. And without any further ado, let's jump across to the recording. Happy editing. Okay,
Press record.
I think I already have, David.
Oh, okay.
I think I already have.
I'm a bit slow there today, am I?
Yeah, no, already have. I'm a one-man band tonight because Sidekick's not here. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. I will keep the introduction brief this week because I told a lot of you last week what I do. My name is Mark. I'm a semi-retired commercial photographer. I've returned to academia. I am currently studying towards a PhD in photography. I am interested in effect of a visual image. How does it make you feel? I've been a Lightroom trainer for well over a decade now. I've been a Lightroom user since the tail end of version 1 into version 2, which I think was 2007, 2008, something like that. I honestly believe that it's the industry's leading software for us photographers. And the reason why I use it is, or the main reason why I use it is, it doesn't tie you into their app. You can use third-party plugins via the plugin manager. So if there is something that you want to photograph, for example, a time lapse or HDR, and you don't want to do it in Photoshop, you don't want to do it in Lightroom, you want to do it in LR time lapse, for example, or you want to do it in Photomatics, which are specialists pieces of software. Adobe and Lightroom is fine about that, and you can export your assets to those applications and press a one button, you can export it, press a one button, it brings it back into Classic. I will stand corrected, but my understanding from a lot of other software, I'm just going to say a name I don't know, but Infinity and On1, they really make it difficult to leave those applications. But I'm just saying those as names. I don't know. I do use those apps, but I use them in conjunction with Classic as my digital asset manager and my raw editor, and I share my images. So last week we looked at basically the user interface of the library module. Does anyone have any questions about last week? Are you happy with that? Hi, Mr. Crabtree. Nice to see you. I hope you're well. This week, we're going to look at setting up Classic. And the reason why I do this is so you understand what happens in the background outside of Classic. Now, there's one golden rule. And Adobe jump up and down about this, is you must do everything with your images inside of Classic. If you move a folder in your Explorer or your Finder, or you move an image or a video or whatever you want to do, if you do that in the operating system, whether that's Windows or Mac, Classic will not know where it is, and it loses that connection. And everything that you want to do outside of Classic, you can actually do inside Classic. So there is no reason whatsoever to actually leave Classic. So today is about the fundamentals of some experience that I have of using Classic and how I've set Classic up, and what the settings are and what they're used for within the catalog, so that if you've got a catalog and it's a mess everywhere, you go, oh, I didn't know it did this and I didn't know it did that and I set this up wrong and so on. You've got a bit of background knowledge to step back and look at it and perhaps start again or adjust what you've got. So first thing, my opinion, and this is all opinion, okay, because there's no right or wrong way of doing something. It's your photography, it's your images, and how you want to do it. But I suggest and I recommend that you put all your images in one storage space if you can. Why do I say that? Well, there's two reasons. Firstly, if you have a disaster at home, you spill coffee over somebody's laptop. Yes, Sue's here, which I've done. And or there's a fire or a flood, or we don't wish any of this, but if there is, your images are not on your computer. Okay, so there are lots of stories in America where people run into their houses to get the negatives of the wedding album. If you've got that on your computer, it's difficult to firstly upgrade your computer, and secondly, it's difficult to one action take those memories of yours, because your passport, your credit card, your birth certificate, driving license, that's all replaceable. You can get all that, insurance and all the rest and so on. But your memories, those photographs, you can't. So if you put them on your computer, in your laptop, you spill coffee over it, like I've done, or the computer goes down, you've lost, or as I say, a natural incident happens, a flood, for example, you've lost everything. At least by putting them on one single hard drive, external hard drive, you can take the drive immediately. Just pick it up, yank it out. You might lose, if you're working on a file, one or two pictures, but the files that you're not working on, you've saved. Okay, and you've run out of the house when the house is on fire. So that's a practical scenario. When you are interacting with Classic, so you have it open, you are not looking at the files. Until you press D to go into the developer module, you do not go anywhere near your files itself. So the speed of your computer is not going off to that hard drive. And the only time you view that image is when you're editing it. So people that say, oh, it's going to run slower and so on. No, having your images on an external drive does not affect the speed whatsoever. Okay. So the naysayers that say, no, you should have them on your local drive, etc., that doesn't make a blind bit of difference. So, anyone got any questions about that? No? Okay. So, Classic. I'm fortunate. I'm one of the lucky ones. I have quite a fast Macintosh computer, and it's what they call Thunderbolt 5. I can't remember the exact of the transfer rate. I think it's about 2000 megabits per second. But I can keep my catalog and my images all on an external drive. And this is the drive called Aperture. So if I minimize my screen and I show you on this finder, everyone see that okay? I've got a drive called Aperture. Now that could be your internal drive on your computer. Okay. And I've got a folder called photography. And the reason why I number these is operating systems working in a numerical alpha order. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 9, 0 will always come first, and then the letter. So A1 will be after 2A, because one will come, sorry, A1 will come before 2A because 1 comes first. Okay. So I want projects to be at the top, out audio next, photography afterwards. And I have all my images and my catalog in a folder because this drive, this Thunderbolt 5 drive, is faster than my internal drive in my machine. You can quite easily find out what your speeds are on your machines. There's apps that you can download that are for free and they'll tell you the read-write speed. But mine's over 2000 megabits per second, where most drives will be about 500 megabits per second, even if it's an SSD. So I've got a folder called catalog, and these are all my catalog files. So there is my catalog. There is my synced data that's synced with the cloud. There is my previews, or my smart previews. There are my previews. Okay. So all this is on an external drive. Now, the majority of people will have all this on an internal drive. Okay. Now, I wanted to explain why I have this. Sitting to the right of me is a MacBook Pro M4. I have on there Lightroom Classic. I can unplug this drive here, plug it into that computer, and now I'm running Lightroom Classic with the same catalog on that computer because I've taken the catalog and the associated catalog settings and the previews and the smart previews and the sync data with me. So for all intensive purposes, this catalog file, okay, believes I'm on the same computer. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? Have I explained that? Speak to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So rather than running it on an internal drive like most people would do, I'm running this all on an external drive. So I can just unplug the drive, eject the drive, plug it into my laptop, and I continue working. So that means when I'm away on holiday or I'm on a research project or whatever, and I want to do something in Classic, all I do is I import them as normal, my normal workflow. And when I come back here, it's exactly the same. It's still running. I haven't got to sync anything. I haven't got to do any additional work. Everything that I do away on my laptop is the same that's sitting here. Okay, because I'm looking at the same files. Right. So let's go to Classic. So here's Classic. And there are some settings that we need to look at first. So we'll look at Classic catalog settings. Okay, so that's under File on a PC. It's under Lightroom Classic on a Mac. First one is under the General tab, where is your catalog? So you can see mine. It's on a volume called Aperture. Number 3, Photography, LRC, Lightroom Classic, Training, Catalog. If I hit the Show button, there it is. This is my catalog. And there's my preview, smart previews, and that's what I showed you earlier. Okay. All right, there we go. Name of the catalog, when it was created, when it was last optimized, and we'll talk about that in a minute, and the size of the catalog. When you importing numbers, okay, so we'll talk about that a little bit later, but you're importing the sequence of numbers. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and how many photos you're going to import or have imported. Previews. Now, this is quite important, and I'm going to try and show you like this. These images you see here are previews. They are not the file. Okay. So if I go back to here, this is the catalog, and you can see it says previews, 31 gigabytes. And this is where a lot of people fill up their drive because they have the previews wrong size. Okay, and same with smart previews, and we'll talk about smart previews in a minute. So previews, you can see I've got 30 gig of previews. Well, if you've got a laptop with 120 gigabytes of storage, that's a quarter of your storage. How you can change your preview size is here. And it's all about your screen real estate, the size of your screen. And you can change the preview size. So here, this would be approximately a quarter, this size here, a quarter of the preview size. So it's 1024 pixels. So that would come down to less than 10 gigabytes just by changing the preview size. And it's all about the size of the image. So when I click on it there, that's my preview. I am not looking at the file. This has not gone off to the drive and rendered the image. Okay. I am looking at the preview, and the preview is next to the catalog. So if I go back to general, show, there's the catalog, there's the previews. Okay. There's the smart previews, and I'll explain what the difference is shortly. But there's your previews. Okay. Those previews are always next to the catalog. Okay. And they are what you see everywhere apart from in the develop module. So if I go to slideshows, that's a preview, what you're seeing on the screen. It's not until I hit D, that is now the raw file. And I am editing the catalog, which is then referencing the raw file. Okay, it does not write onto the raw file until you export. It's referencing the raw file. Okay, press G to take me back to the library module. These are all previews, okay, which Classic makes when you import. Does everyone understand that? Mm. Yeah? Okay, so you can change the size of preview and you can change the quality of preview. And both those settings are a personal choice, okay? And they will affect the storage size. Okay. Now there's another type of preview.
Mark, can I just ask if you change that like now, would that retrospectively alter the size of the previews?
No, you'll have to do. Thank you,
it's
John.
only from now on then.
Yep. That's on import. If you wanted to change the size of the preview, so I've got all 1,849 images. I've gone Command or Control A to select all. I go up to Library. I come down to Previews, and you go Build Standard Previews. So whatever you've changed, if you've changed to here, so if I did this 1024 pixels, nothing would happen with my current previews. It would only affect when I go to import up here, it says standard previews. Okay. So that's going forward. If I want to change the size of the previews of my current previews, I have to select them all and I have to rebuild them. So you go to Library, down to Previews, Build Standard Previews, and it would rebuild them to your new specification. Okay, does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what you have to do. So it's a two process. This is where you set it, as I said, it's going forward. You have to rebuild them. Now there's another. Yeah.
Mark, sorry, can I just ask,
David,
can you recommend any settings? I know it's an individual thing and presumably
depends on the size of your screen. So
Okay.
I've got a 5K monitor here, so I'm going to have 4 to 5K because Classic is looking at the size of the monitor. Okay, you've got a laptop and an external monitor. You need to make a choice. Do you want your pixels to be the size of your laptop monitor or your external monitor? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a
Yeah.
personal choice you'll have to make. The difference would be is if you went for the external monitor, which is bigger, then the size of the preview file would be larger. And you could sit there and go, oh, that's way too big. It's taking too much space. And you can change it. You can change it as many times as you want. So you could sit there and say, oh, I'm going away for 10 days. The images that I only want at 2000 pixels. So you change it to 2000 pixels. And then when you come back, you can select those images and change the size again. So it's something you can keep changing. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right. There's an additional preview, and it's called one-to-one. And this box here, this little tick box and drop down, is discarding your one-to-ones. Now, what's a one-to-one preview? One-to-one preview is, you can see this image is 6,240 by 4,160 pixels. So it's 6,000 across the top, 4,000 down. And if I go through them, there's no render time at all, because all of these are one-to-one previews. Okay, literally, I'm just hitting right arrow key each time. They are one-to-one previews. Now, when you're looking full screen, especially when you press tab and you get rid of the panels and you double click and you start rendering through them, and they're high res files, so 6,000 pixels, raw files, it takes a little while to render, subject to the speed of your computer, because you'll wait a few seconds. So if you want to go through culling, picking and rejecting, and having either your cap lock button on or coming down to it's under photo, auto advance. And if I want to go pick, reject, pick, reject, pick, reject, I'm flagging, I'm culling, I'm saying what I want. If you were doing that in a high res preview, but not a one-to-one, it would take time to render. Okay. So what we can do is we can build one-to-one previews. Because I'm fortunate, I've got a 4 terabyte Thunderbolt 5 drive that's external. I actually have all mine. Let's go to the right one. I have these, all of my images are one-to-one previews, and I never discard them. And what you can do is, for example, let's just say, let's go here. These 93 images here, this is what you're currently working on. So I'll go select all. This would be a normal workflow. Select all, build one-to-one previews. There we go, 93 built. And then I would now go through doing whatever I wanted to do with the images. And then once I've finished with this collection, I'd go select all, and I go to previews and discard the one-to-one previews, because why do you keep needing them? If you've finished with the image, you've sent it somewhere or you printed it or whatever, but you just want to archive it and come back to it at a later date, you can build the one-to-one preview again. So why do you need to store all these previews? You can keep building and discarding, building and discarding, building and discarding. So what they've done is there's this automatic discard. So after, let's say, a week, you've imported all your images. So you're on a photo shoot in Mull, photographing otters. And at the top here, you can say build one-to-one previews. Okay, and it will build all the one-to-one previews on import. And that means you can go through them quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker because you've got all the information there. It's building. You're not waiting for it to render. Okay. All right. So that's one-to-one previews, and you can set a cache. Metadata. Now, this again is a personal choice. Offer suggestions. So when you type in a location or a word, just like AI and Google search engine and so on, it'll offer a suggestion. Include develop settings in the metadata of a file. So why would we do this? And this is in conjunction with the XMP file. An XMP file, if I can find one for you, is a SciCart file. Let's go there. Let's go there. Oh, did I go to the right place? Let's backups, training, images. See if I find you one. No, not one there. No, I haven't got one. Okay, so what an XMP file is a file that keeps all the information about, there we go, there's one there. Okay, so this is 6617, that's the actual image. Okay, so if I open that, let's say I'll open that in, let's go to a preview. So this is the raw file, it's a TIFF file. This is the image I took. I took this one with my Nikon Z5, and I made some adjustments. The adjustments were placed into the catalog, but also they were saved to an XMP SciCart file. Why would I do that? Well, if I wanted to work on this image in another application, it would read the adjustments that I've made in Classic or Lightroom. So I'm keeping my workflow totally flexible. I can go to other applications, do certain things that I wish to do, and it writes all those adjustments into the XMP file. You may have GPS data. You may have a SciCart audio file. Well, Classic and these other applications, Photoshop and so on, it needs to know where all this information is. Well, that's what it's stored in this XMP file. Okay. So we can say put our develop modules into the image. Yes. So there's JPEG, TIFFs, PNGs, and Photoshop files. Yes, they write them in the header, like the header of a Word document. And then if it's a raw file, it puts it in an XMP file. So we have those two ticked on. And what you can do is, when I take these 93 images, Command or Control A to select all, then I'll go Command or Control S. That's the shortcut to save it. All the metadata that the catalog has got, it's now writing XMP files or into the header, depending on the file format, of all these 93 images. So I could now edit that in, let's say, Lightroom, which is not a catalog-based program. And all the edits that I've done in Classic have now been preserved so I could use it in another program. That makes sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Shout out if I'm going too fast or I haven't explained something or. Right, okay. Address lookup. If we tick these boxes, mobile phones, as default it's turned on, you can turn it off, has your GPS coordinates. If you got GPS coordinates, it will look up the address and put that into the metadata. So let's go deselect. Let's set this one here. Go into my EXIF data. Okay, there is the GPS data down here. And it will look up the GPS and the address information from the GPS. So you can see here, it says Minehead, England, United Kingdom, GB. And it takes that information from the GPS data, which is here. And I can do one click on the little triangle, the little arrow, and it will take me to the 36 images that I took on that day in that particular shoot, and there they are. Okay, which is why 99 times out of 100, when I shoot on a project or something, I will have some form of GPS capture device, whether that's an InReach, whether it's an app on a particular phone. So my work catalog, I've got thousands of these little bubbles, and I can click through and go, oh, that image there, that's the one. Click on it, takes me straight there because I have the GPS data enabled. And you can use that in searches and smart collections. So you could say, show me all the pictures of otters that I took on Mull in this particular time, and it'll bring all that information back from the GPS, from the collection, from the date range you've asked for, and in a few seconds, there's all the images you've asked it to find. So by ticking this box here, it will automatically populate that. It'll do it in the background for you. And you can export the address suggestions when you wish to as well. Face detection. Face detection is when you import an image, it'll detect faces. Okay, so we press O and here's faces, and these have all been in this location, this collection. These are the faces it picked up. And if I start typing in, it will start to learn. So I drag myself on, drag myself on, drag myself on. As I go through the catalogue and the collections, it will start finding me. If I go here, it'll start going through finding all the people and tagging them with the persons that I've told it. Now, please, it is a keyword, but it's a face keyword. It's a face tag. So if I go to the image, okay, oops. Okay, so see, it's tagged the face. Okay, and at the moment it hasn't identified these faces yet. So it's tagged the face. It's a keyword, but it's the face. And you can select all the images with me in and so on, etc. So, or whatever you wish to do. But that is under automatically face detect all your photos. And the first time your catalog does this, it will take ages. And you might want to pause it. And there is face detection underneath the identity plate, top left-hand corner, face detection. You can pause it because it uses a lot of memory up. It's something that I'm going away for a weekend, I'd leave the computer running and let it continue doing it. And when you import, it'll automatically look at faces and group them together, and it will ask you suggestions. Okay. EXIF data, that's the data that comes from your camera. And do you want to overwrite the information as you import it? No, I don't. And then the last setting in catalog settings here is backup. This is all changed. First thing that's really important is the location of your backup. So we can hit choose here. Ideally, we want it on a separate drive to your catalog. So, oops, let's just put that back there. Okay, so this is on my drive called negative space. And there's some backups, which are there. Okay, which is a different drive. Why would you put it on a different drive to your catalog? Well, this is the catalog drive. There we go. If this drive aperture failed, knocked coffee over it, well, if my backup was on there, I'd lose my backup as well. Yes, you could put it into a folder that's synced to the cloud, Dropbox, OneDrive, other services out there. Yes, and you'd have it in that cloud. But now you've got to recover it from the cloud and so on. So if you've got a USB drive or an extra, you can pick up a 1 terabyte Western Digital external drive for around about £40 today, and or just a little USB drive for £10 from Amazon. That'll be big enough. You just put that backup file, and there we go, backups, Lightroom, and there's all my work ones this month. Okay, so you choose that, and best practice is you put it in a different location. The next drop down is how regular do you want it to back up? So the question really is, if it goes wrong and you have to reinstall the backup, how much work do you want to do again? And in my case, I don't want to do any work again. So every time I exit Lightroom Classic, it creates a backup. And I manage my backups. I keep them for a couple of weeks, and then I just delete them. But you can choose. If you're only using it once a week, as in Lightroom Classic once a week, then back up once a week, and it will know the last time you backed up, and it'll set the clock ticking, and it'll back up once a month, once a day. Next time you leave Classic, it will back up, and you choose. It's your choice. But on my work catalog, it's every single time, and I religiously back up every single time. Now this bit, new, a number of backups. This is new, this bit down here. This is showing me all the backups, and historically you've had to go to this folder and delete them from here. But now you can delete your backups. Do I need all these backups? You can delete them all within Classic. You can rename them as well, and so on, etc. So you highlight one and press delete, remove. What's the difference in delete and remove? Delete means it's gone. Remove just means it's gone from Classic. It's still on your hard drive. Okay, and you hit show, and it'll show the path where it is. So that's the backups. Really important. The other thing that's about backup is it's only backing up your catalog. It's not backing up your photographs. Okay. It does not back up your smart previews. Why? Because you can rebuild your smart, your previews, and your one-to-one previews. You can rebuild them. So why back them up? All it's doing is backing up the information, the actions, the things that you've done, added keywords, imported images. Where are they? In a collection. You develop editing, you're sharing, your slideshows, all those type of things. All the things that you've done, your actions, that's what's in your catalog. The images are not. Okay. So that's that. Anyone, any questions about that? Deadly silence.
Yeah, no, I have a
Yes, Jay.
question. When you were showing what was all the preview files, that was done in Finder, not within Classic. Okay. Because when I do it within the Classic, it only shows me the catalog file. It doesn't show me the other files. So I have to go into Finder for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can show you a little setting to tick on in a second for that. But yeah, there's a setting in preferences that you put your catalog settings next to the catalog, and there's a little tick box. So I'll show you that when we come on to preferences.
Okay.
Okay. So that's catalog settings. Has anyone got any questions? Apart, Jay's done that one. I'll show what Jay's talking about. Anyone got any questions? No? Okay. So we've talked about previews. That's what you see on the screen. And I've talked about one-to-one previews. There's one more type of preview, and I'll show it to you in a second, but I'll briefly talk about it. It's called a smart preview. every time you send something to the cloud, which we'll be talking over the next few weeks, the cloud, it creates this new raw file. It's a low-res raw file. It's big enough for a 10 by 8 print, and it sends it to the cloud. But you can also make a smart preview, and it's designed for laptop users. Why? Well, if you follow the workflow of putting all your images on an external device, an external drive, you don't want to take that drive with you with your laptop. So you could build all your images with smart previews, and you can do that on import. What that means is you can unplug your drive, your network drive or your storage drive or your direct attached storage. You can take your laptop with you and have access to all your images. You can edit all your images, and you can print all your images up to a 10 by 8. Okay, that's a smart preview. Okay, so they've addressed, as technology's gone forward, Adobe has addressed, well, I've got this big hard drive, don't want to, I need a mains cable of 15 miles because I'm going to work, or I need to take it with me and buy a second mains adapter or something like that. You don't need to do that. You create a smart preview. Creates a smart preview when it goes into the cloud. Smart previews do not count towards your 20 or 100 or 1 terabytes worth of storage. So if you wanted to, methodically, you could put all your images into the cloud and have access to them anywhere you like, on any device you like. You could share them, you can print them from your smartphone or your tablet without your computer being turned on. So that's what smart previews are for, and I'll show you now how to do smart previews. Okay, so this image here, if you look top right hand corner underneath the histogram, it says original, so the drive is connected. Classic is seeing the original, but it also says smart preview. Okay, so if I ejected the drive or I unplugged the drive, it would work off the smart preview. Downside, I go to the drive, smart preview, there's a gigabyte file there. So it's more storage space on your computer. But it means that I've got my file with me wherever I go. So in my working catalog, that I've got over 500,000 images in there. I've got them when I'm sitting, for example, in 2 weeks' time, I will be in northern France. I have all this all in front of me. I have all of this with me, every single image with me on a little external drive. So somebody can phone me up and say, Mark, that picture you took such and such, could I have a copy of it, or could you email it to me, or whatever, and so on. I've got all that with me. I don't need to have a server or anything like that. It's all on a little hard drive. Now, how do you create smart previews? So import, little tick box here. So when you import, you can decide what size preview you want, 1:1, standard, etc. And you can make a preview on import. Okay, so another way of doing it, just go select all, library, previews, build smart previews, and it will build the smart previews and you can discard them. Okay, so it's for an external drive and you've got them in Classic wherever you are if you have a laptop. Another thing that you can do, it's under, come to ask J, just remember where it is now. Seeing one of the settings here, but there's a tick box that you can, I'm sure it's under here. Oh, I can't remember where it is now, but I'll show you when we come to it. But there's a little tick box that you can stack everything, which is what I have. I'm just going to show you again. Never remember what it is. It's one of those settings you use once and you never ever bother go back to it again. So if I go here, so you can see here I've got my catalog, and I've got all my catalog settings. I've got all my profiles, got all my plugins, got all my presets. Everything is next to the catalog. Now, when I find the setting for you, default is turned off. That means all these other files are buried away somewhere in my operating system. Now, why would it do that? Well, it's quicker perhaps for Adobe. But if I bought a new computer, I'd have to rebuild all this again. I'd have to go and find all my plugins, my watermarks. So if I come down here, all my watermarks, I'd have to go and find them all. I'd have to rebuild them all. Don't need to do that. I've got them all here. And this is all on my external drive. Okay. So, and I'll find the tick box in a second for you. There's a tick box. But you can also develop your smart preview. So on your develop settings, it will develop, rather than developing the actual file, which if I go right click, show in Finder, rather than applying the settings to a catalog and referencing this file, it references the smart previews. Okay, I'll show you where that is. It's under developing presets. Here we go. Store preset. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Store presets along by the side of the catalog. Okay. So that now, next time I restart, will put all the settings amongst the catalog. Okay. Now this is develop presets. Okay. So it's showing partly compatible develop presets. When you use a preset and develop module, it will recognize that you've halved used the preset. Okay, that's there under visibility. But let's go back to general. Okay, language. Does everyone know what a splash screen is? When you start a program, you get this. This is called a splash screen. Okay. You can turn that off. So some people find it annoying. You can turn off the splash screen. Okay. Default catalog. In this login, I only have one catalog, and I specify I want you to open that catalog each time. So as soon as I hit Lightroom Classic button, or I come up to here and I hit Lightroom Classic here, it'll open this catalog. In my other login, which is my work catalog, it will save my work catalog. Okay, so you can specify the last catalog. It can ask you what catalog you want to open, and so on. So, but I specify my particular catalog. Now, we'll quickly run through this bit. Memory card. You know, sometimes you plug your memory card in and a pop-up comes up and you want to import it, and sometimes it's annoying, sometimes it isn't. There's your tick box. You untick that, you plug your memory card in or your camera, and nothing will happen if it's unticked. If you tick it, it'll say, oh, Lightroom Classic will open. It'll pop up the import dialog. And what do you want to do? Select previous, current or previous import. So everything that you've done on the current or your previous import, that's where it will start off from. Because I follow the same workflow each time, I want it to go back to that place. When you import from your camera, you can set up your camera as a part of the workflow. What do I mean by that? The folder that you're importing to, it will take the name of the folder off the SD card and place it in that folder in Classic. Why would you do that? Let's say you do some time-lapse photography and it goes into a particular folder on your CF or SD card. Let's say you do some video and you've set up your camera so your video goes into a particular folder on your SD card. So your images, your time-lapse images, and your videos are all in 3 individual folders on your CF or your SD card. Well, if you have that ticked, it will ignore those folder names. So it's all about your workflow. If you shoot JPEG and RAW individually, okay, so you've got your first chip in your camera is all your RAWs, your second camera is all your JPEGs. You do that for example, you share on social media from location, or you want a JPEG to speed up processing. You can tell Classic to treat them as separate photographs. So you get 2 photographs, you get 2 thumbnails side by side. If you don't have it ticked, it will stack them. Okay, and it'll edit the RAW file, but you've got the high-res JPEG file there as well. Embedded preview. Some cameras will build a preview into the image. So you can replace the embedded preview in the RAW file with a standard preview when it's idling. Okay. And then we've got show parent folder when importing, and I'll show you that when we get to that. So that's that. Got some sounds if you want to have sounds. So when it finishes importing, it will go ping and so on, etc. Those are personal choices. Anyone got any questions about that? Do you want me to go back through any of that? A lot to take in. No? Okay, presets. Presets on import. So you can import your camera with presets. So a lot of cameras, Fuji, Nikon, Sony, Canon, you can have recipes of stylization. So for example, I'm a Nikon photographer. I can put a recipe of T-Max, which is a black and white film from the 70s and 80s. It will preserve those, keep those settings on import from the camera. You choose what you want. And that is serial number specific. So here we go, all my cameras, and it's serial number specific. So each one will be treated separately. Okay. I shoot JPEG for particular type of image. For example, street photography, and if I want to share on Instagram quickly and so on, and I have a separate catalog for that. So my raw images stay in one catalog and my JPEGs go into another catalog because I don't do that a lot. What else on here? So we've got show Lightroom presets, develop presets. This is where they are. Okay. We can obviously tick here, which I talked about earlier. That's putting them by the side of the catalog. Your other presets. So here we go. So it's layouts, color profiles, develop presets. We'll talk all about this. There's so much down here. It's location presets. So for example, let's say you go back to the same location a lot. You photograph wildlife and you go back to the same location time after time. You can save all the location metadata into a file. Okay, so you don't have to keep typing it in and so on. Down below, this is just resetting everything back to the defaults. Okay, so on to the next one. Anyone got any questions? Oh, okay. So external editing, you get 2 keyboard shortcuts for external editing. The top one you can't change outside of Photoshop. So it'll either do whatever version of Photoshop you have, will be listed here. File format, Photoshop file format, color space. Color space, I would recommend that you keep the same color space as Lightroom. So the same color, the application, which is down here, you keep the same color space. So the recipe, the ingredients are the same. 16-bit and 300 dots per inch, which is the resolution that we print in. This is just a duplicate, but it's for another editor. So for example, if you use Silver Effects, you can select from the drop down a program. So you can choose, a different one and so on, and it'll open Command Control E, Alt Command E, and that'll alternative editor, and it'll take it automatically. So if I want to go this image here, right click and edit in Photoshop, that would just take it straight to Photoshop. Open it up. Okay, so that's your normal editor. So that's that. Don't want to save it. But if I had another editor, so editing other application, I could just go right click, edit in, and Silver Effects, for example. Okay. So, and the beauty of about Lightroom Classic, as I said at the beginning, I'm going to leave Classic to another application, and all I do is I hit save. So let's just take this image and I right click, edit in Photoshop. I'm going to go to Photoshop. Okay, I'm now going to go adjust and make it black and white. Okay, now if I go file save, and it's down, made it as a Photoshop file, and there it is on the window next to the original file. So there's none of this going to find it, hunt it, and so on. It's right next to the next to the original file. So, and that's the great thing about, and you do that with any application. So if you've got a particular style that you like, in one or Luminar or Silver Effects or whatever, you just go right click and it will say edit in, and you click on the appropriate program. It will take it there, and all you do is hit save, and it will put them side by side. And if you're working in a collection, it will put it next to in the collection. If I go right click, show in show in folder. Show in the library. It's put it next to the original file. Is next to it in the folder structure. So if I go show Finder, there you go. There's the Photoshop file. There's the raw file. So it's a digital asset manager. You're not hunting, where did I find that file? All you can do is hit save, not save as, just save. So if I go back to preferences. So that's what your external editor is. And if you want JPEGs, you want PSDs, you want TIFFs, color space, how many bits, how many pieces of information per piece of data, 16 is the highest it produces. Resolution, 300 dots per inch. Stack with the original image, yes. You can rename the image. So on import, and I put the word edit in there, sometimes I put E, and you can put a sequencing numbers as well. You can do so many things here. File handling.
I have
Jay.
a question. I have compression. Does that
Yeah.
but you don't show compression there. Is that because it's PSD?
Correct.
So why it's a choice of PSD, TIFF, or JPEG?
Yeah. Well, it's down to the license. So for example, some software don't pay for the Photoshop license. They won't pay Adobe money to have access to the code so they can save as a Photoshop file. So it'll be a TIFF file. TIFF files you can compress. Okay, Photoshop files you would not compress.
But it says zip. It says zip, but I don't get a zip file.
You can do. You can have a lossless, and you can have a zip file. So when it compresses it, it will compress it at that format.
Well, my choice is just compression, none, or zip.
Yeah, that's because you're on 16-bit. If you go to 8-bit, it will give you the lossless. So TIFF.
I had zip, but it didn't come as a zip file. It came as a TIFF file.
Yeah. So the zip file is already compressed. A TIFF file is not compressed at the moment. It's giving you the option to compress the file.
Which would compress more, the lossless or the zip?
Don't know.
So
Don't know. You'd have to try it out. You'd have to
I've
try
had
it.
it, I think the default was zip,
Mhm.
and it didn't seem to, I didn't see any zip file. So
Okay.
my guess
So,
is that zip is more than lossless in compression.
okay. So Photoshop, the difference between the two is about size of file. A TIFF file is only up to 2 GB. Photoshop files a lot more. Also the history, how many layers, history layers you can have in a TIFF file compared to a PSD file. So I just keep it as because it keeps my options open as a PSD. But some software, Silver Effects a long time ago, Silver Effects 4 did not support PSD file. They did not pay DX when it was Nixsoft. I think it was Nixsoft. They wouldn't pay the license money to Photoshop to Adobe to have Photoshop, so everything was PSD. But when DxO bought, I think it was DxO they bought, which is I think a part of Google. I think I'll stand corrected. When they bought this company, they agreed to pay Google to sorry, not Google, Adobe, so they could save as a PSD file. So, which is why you have it now. So,
Silver Effects still defaults to exporting as a TIFF.
does that?
Yeah,
Okay. Can you change it to a PSD?
I haven't tried, and Topaz actually does as well.
Yeah.
Topaz always exports as TIFF.
TIFF. Yeah. So it's all about the relationship between those
Yeah.
companies and Adobe. Thank you, Gary.
And Photoshop beta exports saves as TIFF also as default.
Can do. Yes. I would keep clear of beta. The Photoshop beta. There's a lot of nice things in there. I would have it on a separate login. The reason why is things like editing, and then you've got these smart objects down here and so on. All this gets grayed out. Okay? It's because I've got the beta on here and there is a conflict. So I would stand in my main catalog. I have not got Photoshop beta, which is Photoshop 2026 basically, and all the new functionality and so on. I haven't got it, but here I've got it 'cause it's my training catalog. I play with it and so on. So because, for example, if this was a focus stacked image, I'd want to go right click and edit in Photoshop as a layer. Okay, so it would then take all these images and it would stack them all on top of each other. Okay, so we wait for that to do that because I think this is a layered image. So it's opening each of the images and bringing them into Photoshop. And it's probably a focus stack. Does everyone know what a focus stacking is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So your camera starts down here at the first boat and it will step into the image all the way back. So you want them all as layers. So you click on the first layer, click on the last layer, and then first thing you would do is you'd go up to edit, and then you would auto align. So you align them all so it makes sure they're all straight and everything and so on with each other, and then you blend them all together. Well, if you've got the beta installed, sometimes when you go right click, this does not appear because there's a conflict between the proper Photoshop and the beta version. So now those have all been lined up, and now you'd go blend. So you'd go file, edit, and then blend, and then it's going to look at the stacked images and it's going to create masks, but masks as in what's in focus. So if we look down here, so that means you'd have, rather than shooting at f22, you could shoot at, let's say, f4, f5.6. So you'd have a pin sharp image with no diffraction, and then it stacks them all on top of each other, and it's doing it all for you, all automatically. So, and there we go. You can see the white is what is in focus, and the black is what's out of focus. So I've now got an infinity image, everything in focus. And now you just go File, Save. I'll wait for that to save. Take a little while.
It's flattening it while it saves.
Sorry?
It's flattening it while it saves.
You can, well, depending on your computer's capability, you don't have to flatten. You can flatten. You can merge all the layers. So it's up to the resources of your computer. This should, depending on the file size, because it's a PSD, it should keep all the layers, which means if I go back into it later, I'll have all this information here. If I merged all these layers or flattened all these layers, now it's, see, the file's over 2 gigabytes. So what I would have to do is either externally save it or go right click and merge layers rather than flatten them. So I've now merged them and now save it. It's not going to like me. Yeah, it's now going to come up. Well, there we go. But it will now save it and away I go. Okay?
Yeah. Yep.
So let's do that, save some time. Okay, so this is all about how you set up your catalog. Okay, and it's something that you'll learn and you'll change. Okay, so this is external editing. File handling. Whether you want capital or lowercase, previews, built-in previews, none, high res or medium. Keywords, do you want them split by a comma or a dot or a forward slash? That's up to you. File generation, so you can again have just a particular couple of types of characters that you'd want, legal or illegal. So you couldn't do a forward slash, or you could do a forward slash, or you might want characters for some reason in your file name or not. Okay. Dashes, do you want underscore or a hyphen, a minus? Okay, so you can set all these. It's about a workflow. It's about having a methodical structure, and you've got to remember that classic is everything to everyone. Some people go, "Oh, this is all a waste of time. I'm not going to do any of this," but some people might be this way inclined. This is setting up your interface. So end marks is this location here in the panel. So if I turn on an end mark, you see there's a little flower there, floral, small floral. You can put your own logo there. Okay, font size, you can change your size. If you need glasses, you can have large font size, small font size. If you're left-handed, you can have the panel on the left, now on the right, the panel on the right, on the left. So you can set that up here. So I click here. Lights out. So you're looking at this image, you press L and you go into dim mode. Press L again, it goes into dark mode. Press L again, it brings you back. You can set the level. Okay. You can also set the background color. Okay. So whatever you want it to be, middle gray. Okay. Comma separation of keywords, which we talked about earlier. And then in the film strips, you can click on the film strip at the bottom and you can have whatever settings that you want in the film strip. So metadata, you can have your color labels, your flagging, your stars, all in the film strip. And as I said last week, if you hover the mouse over a particular point, it's a sweet point. You can make your film strip bigger, make your film strip smaller. You can make your right panel bigger, make it smaller. If I go to the filter bar, view, and when we go toolbar is the one at the bottom, and there we go. See this one here, it's my toolbar. If we go G, there's my filter bar, library filter bar. If I hover over, if I turn a column on, I can move my mouse. So if I've got a longer date structure, I can, or if I want more screen. Okay, so all this is all customizable. Everything's customizable because we're all individuals, we're all unique. What's time? Performance, I would just leave all this. The only thing I might change is your cache, how much storage of your memory going to use your cache. Depends on your machine. You can hit purge and it will clean it, get rid of it all. And then you've got a separate, because I don't know if you know, but Classic does video, you've got a cache, and that's like quick memory using that. Anything else on quick? I'm just looking at time. Okay, Lightroom syncing. This is a subject that takes a long time to go through, because if you don't understand how syncing works, can cause lots of problems. But we'll keep it simple to start with. You have a local location. So here, choose, this is my local location for where my images go in the cloud. So when I take a photograph with my mobile phone and I sync it to the cloud, where does it go when Classic syncs to the cloud? And this is the location. Okay, so if I show you that location, there. These are all images that I've taken, or these are the folders, these are the date structure that I've taken. There's no images in there. They're next to the catalog. So this is the location. So I take a picture of my mobile phone, it goes up to Adobe's server, and then it comes down to Classic. Where does it go down to in Classic? And this is the folder where you choose it to go to. And I've got everything that's by the side of my catalog. So aperture, photography goes into there. Okay. And then the other thing that I have is everything goes into the date that it was taken. That's just my workflow. So all the images that I take on a particular day, doesn't matter what I take them with, goes into a folder of that date. That's just my workflow. Okay, because I file in date structure. I don't organize in date structure, I file in date structure. Subtle difference between the two. Okay. Last two tabs, because I'm running out of time. Displays, setting up two displays, and then networking. If you use a network and your drive, your server needs a username and password, that's where you put it on there. So that's a lot to take in. Anyone got any questions about that? I'm not expecting, yes, Jay, I'm not expecting you to know everything or remember everything.
Okay, this again, back to syncing.
Yeah.
My phone is 5 days behind in syncing. When I just looked at Lightroom Sync and sync activity, there is a file that I think is blocking it, upload. And
Yeah.
that's probably why it's 5 days behind.
Yeah.
It's being blocked. Usually when I click on it, it'll show what the picture is,
Yeah.
but it doesn't. When I click on it, nothing happens.
Okay. So is it going up or is it going down? Where
It's uploading. It's
it's
uploading.
uploading. So my suspicion would be that you've started to sync and you've deleted a file. So it's sitting in the database to go up there,
You mean I deleted it on my phone?
wherever.
Right.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
have deleted some files on my
Okay.
phone. So should I remove this?
What I would do is first, I would resync your database. So holding the Option key down when you're in Preferences and Lightroom Sync,
Yeah.
hold your Option key down and
Yes.
3 hidden menus will come. And it says Rebuild Sync Data, middle one.
Actually, I'm in Lightroom Sync. I hold the Option key down and nothing happens. I don't get that 3 menus.
Okay. So here I am. I'm in Preferences, Lightroom
Yeah.
Sync. I'm holding my Option. Might be Alt on your keyboard. Third one in.
Oh, okay. You're right. I have a PC
Yeah.
keyboard.
Okay. Yeah. I thought
Even
you
though
were
I'm
gonna
on a
say.
Mac, I have a
Yeah.
PC
Yeah.
keyboard.
I thought you were going to say that.
Rebuild. So I do rebuild.
So you hit Rebuild Sync Data, and what it
Yeah.
will do, it will clean out, it will flush out, and start the syncing process again.
Okay. It says cancel, continue, generate diagnostic report. Should I just say continue?
Yeah, continue. I won't bother with the reports. It will take ages,
Right.
and they probably won't. That's normally something when you've got a bug and you're going to send it to Adobe, and they want the
Yeah, right,
report.
right.
Yeah.
No.
So, and it takes ages to do it. So,
Okay. Okay. The other question I have connected with this
yeah,
is that on my phone, I have the default uh, image display is square, but on the phone, it does save the entire
yeah,
uh, aspect ratio.
yeah,
A lot of cameras now are doing this where you
yeah,
can set the display, and a lot of the cameras, when you go to Lightroom, it brings up the full form aspect ratio
yeah,
so you can edit. When I click on my phone import, when I click on uh, cut, uh, it only shows the square format. It doesn't show the full aspect ratio.
okay. What file format are you saving in on your camera on your phone?
I'd have to look, but I think it's that HIRE,
Okay.
whatever it is. Yeah.
So, and you're using the native camera rather than the Lightroom camera?
On my phone, yes, the
Yeah.
native
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it'll burn in whatever you take on the native. So as a general statement, when you use a smartphone, if you use the native camera, whatever you're doing, it burns it into the file. Okay?
Even though it's not a JPEG file.
Correct. Yeah.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
That's the whole
So
point
the
of the
cut, so
H.
the crop and so on will be burnt in. If you use Lightroom camera or the Indigo Photoshop camera, it will take the sensor and apply a mask, and then you can change that mask later.
Well, that's stupid of Apple, but that's not the first time. The so if I did another format for the native camera, okay, okay, I
Yeah.
have to think that through. Yeah, thank you.
I'm just seeing if I've got something I can quickly show. No. So it's the video there. Just looking at the aspect ratios.
Because I like posting in square format
Yeah.
to my family and so
Yeah.
forth. So But I like to be able to edit like I do on
Yeah.
my phone. You can edit the full aspect ratio.
Yeah. So I would change your app to use the Lightroom camera. You can put the mask on that you want, and all it's doing
Right.
is it's grey, it's blacking out. If you put a square mark, it still takes the picture of
Yeah, right. No, no.
three by four,
And then in
but it
Lightroom,
shows you a one by
right,
one.
right. In the Lightroom, you can edit the full aspect ratio.
Correct.
I got
Correct.
it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
That's what I would do. So and I learned the hard way. I've got when I did my media degree, I've got a book all about coffee and how in England how we socialize having coffee and how we socialize how the Europeans socialize. Totally different. If you people watch in the UK, everyone's on their phone. They're not really talking. You go to a tobacco in France, and there's no phones out, and everyone's chatting with everyone. It's a total different experience. And I did a
Right.
photography project on that. Well, there was one picture that I was really gutted about that I took with an iPhone that I wanted in the project, but the aspect ratio was a 3 by 4, I think it was, where everything else I shot on was with a crop sensor, little mirrorless Nikon 1 mirrorless camera, which was a 3 by 2 aspect ratio. And the photographs were all that one image that I really wanted, I couldn't get when I cropped it 3 by 2.
Right. Right.
I missed half the image, half the story was missing, and I
Right.
couldn't crop it to give me the visual story that I wanted to tell because the aspect ratio was wrong. Now, if there would have been a Lightroom app available, I could have put a 3 by 2 mask on. It still would have shot in 3 by 4, whatever it is, but I would have seen three by
Right.
two, so I
Right.
could have framed the image all the same. So when I then went to print them out, they would all be, I'd have that cup in the picture in the corner and that cigarette over here. And when I cut it, when I cropped it, I was missing the cup or I was missing the cigarette and I didn't have the picture. And I was
Right.
absolutely gutted. So I learned the hard way then
Right.
that you apply your shooting mask at the time of capture. So you can then frame it appropriately.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
I will look into using the other camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's actually becoming right now a lot of cameras as we're getting 60 megapixels, for
Hmm.
instance, they're giving that ability to frame,
Yeah.
and yet you keep the whole file for editing.
Correct. Correct.
It's like having different cameras in one camera.
Correct. So a lot of cameras these days, you've got C or U, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you've got a video or mirrorless. You've got stills and video. So you've got like 8 cameras
Right.
because you can customize each dial, C1, C2, C3,
Right.
C4, whatever. You've got 4 still cameras, so you can have one settings for wildlife, moving pictures, and so on. One as portraits or landscapes, and then another one as street photography. And you want to shoot totally in black and white and square format. You just turn the dial around a C3, and you're
Right.
now shooting in square format, black and white.
Right.
And totally, and that's what a lot of cameras are these days. You can do that. You can have 4 cameras in one. So I got a Nikon ZF, and it's got a black and white picture on it. Switch, turn the switch. It's now shooting black. It presents black and white. It shoots black and white, but using the Nikon software, I've got color or black and white. But I see black and white when I look through the viewfinder. And why is that? I'm not being distracted by the color. I'm visually looking at the story. I'm looking at light. I'm looking at contrast. So negative light, shadows. I'm looking at positive light, bright areas, and so on. I'm not looking at color at the time of capture. And that's what's great about turning your C1, 2, and 3, and 4 and having your camera set up like that. You see this picture and go, oh, wow, we look great in black and white. Just turn the dial and you're now looking through the viewfinder in black and white. So you can now visualize what you're taking at time of capture. And that's
Yeah.
You can actually do most of that on the iPhone.
Yeah.
On standard camera, you've got the
Yeah.
square format on there. You've
Yeah,
got the
that's right.
portrait modes, the studio modes.
Except
Totally right, Gary.
if you use the iPhone camera, and when you import it into Lightroom, you lose the choices.
In a lot
So
of them, yeah. A lot of the settings, yeah.
yeah,
It burns
right,
in a lot of them.
right.
I was asked the other day on one of the camera clubs um, about Project Indigo in 17, whether it burnt in the stylization, and I said it's not available yet. I don't know. So, um, but yeah, a lot of taking. Right. I'm sorry, I've rabbited on a bit tonight, and I've given you a lot of information, and I apologize for that. Um, but I wanted to go through behind the scenes of Classic. I'm not expecting it. It's taken me years to just learn all that and say all that type of thing. But I wanted to give you a bit behind the scenes of all the things that Classic is hidden that you'll see and forget about type of thing. The important thing to me is if you can put your images on an external computer and your backup, external drive, and your backup on that or a USB drive or something like that. Your catalog and associated files you put next to each other. Then it's down to individual workflow, whether you use what size previews, whether you use one-to-one previews, whether you use smart previews, and we will look through that next week when we do importing. Because if you've got a workflow for importing, an understanding where you want to get to, you can do 95% of your management of all your images by pressing one button. But it's where do you want to get to? And that'll be a different answer for every one of you. But you can press the import button, you can apply metadata, as in keywords, descriptions, you can have presets, the location, you can put them into collections, sync them to the cloud. You can do all that with one button. But it's knowing what you can do and what you want to do. And that's half the challenge, because 3 weeks later, you'll sit there and go, didn't know it did that. I want to do that. So I didn't know until 5 years ago I could put all my images in the cloud. Right? And what that means is my computer doesn't need to be on. I can access all my images and share all my images with anybody and print all my images, all my 480,000 images. I've got 100 gigabytes of storage. In my 100 gigabytes of storage, it does not count. A smart preview does not count. So you sit there and go, well, I've got all those images in there. How am I going to manage them? How am I going to deal with them in my brain, in my little toe? How am I going to deal with them? So having a plan is really important. Where do I want to get to? I want access to all my images wherever I am on my iPhone. So it's working out that plan. We all photograph different things, whether it's family, whether it's a particular narrative of wildlife, of motorsport, travel, whatever. How are we going to file them? Where do we want them? Where do we need them? What are we going to do with them? Is it just a hobby? We're just going to throw them into one place, and that's fine. But I can find any image that I've taken that's in Lightroom Classic anywhere in the world on any device. I can be sitting in a hotel in India. I can go and somebody can phone me up and say, Mark, I need this for my website. Have you got it with you? And I can be on location in India in a hotel, go into a web browser, and I can send them a file that's big enough to do an 8x10 print from. And I'm not paying anything extra to Adobe for that. He's just thinking about where you are. Right. Okay. Enough of me rabbiting. Who's got some Lightroom questions? Who needs help with something?
I've got a quick one, if I may.
Come on,
I,
David.
I can't import an XMP file. And I saw, as you were talking through preferences, I suddenly saw XMP file somewhere, and I thought, aha, I'm probably not clicked on that one. But while you're here, I'd like to ask.
If I remember rightly, you have to read it. And I can't remember off the top of my head how you read. I'll have to have a think about that.
I've been sent a raw image, and I've also been sent the raw image as an XMP file so that I can see the changes that have been
Right.
made to it. That's what I'm.
Okay. So when you look at the preview, top right hand corner, because I haven't got any, because I'm not in that situation. Right, yeah, I remember how to do it now. Okay, so you should have top right hand corner of the preview, you should have a little icon.
Right.
Is there a little icon telling you like an exclamation mark?
I don't know, because I'm not looking at
Okay,
it.
so when you look at it in the grid view,
Yeah.
in the actual thumbnail,
I can't get that far. I can't get it that far. I can't get the file into Lightroom. I can get the original raw file in
yeah,
Classic, but
yeah,
it says it doesn't
yeah. So right, okay.
acknowledge.
So you've got the raw file in Classic. Is the XMP file next to it?
No.
Okay, so what you have to do is in Finder, one of the few things you do outside, copy the XMP file and put it in the same folder as the raw file. Okay, Classic will then, you might have to restart Classic. Classic will say, hey, there's an XMP file here that's associated to this picture. Now you might have to go right click on the folder structure and sync. That will go, Classic will go to that location and say, is everything the same in the catalog compared to what's on the drive? Okay. If it does it before syncing, there'll be a little exclamation mark, I think it is, in the top right hand corner of the preview of the little thumbnail. Click on it and it will say, do you want to overwrite the XMP file or do you want to read the XMP file? Overwriting it will mean that Classic will stamp the XMP file with the information in the catalog. If you want to read the file, Classic will read it and put that information into the catalog. So there's two things. One is telling Classic there's an XMP file there. So you'll need to move it so it's next to the file. So you'll have the DNG file or the NEF file or CR2, CR3, and underneath it will say the same file name, XMP. Then you need to tell Classic that it's there. This is why you don't do anything outside Classic. It's millions of things you've got to think about. So book your 20 minutes, David.
Right.
All right. So you can go in the folder structure where this file is, right click,
Yeah.
sync, and it will look there. And then Classic will say, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to overwrite the file or do you want me to read the file? And you then decide which one you want to do. So if you want to read it, it will take all the information in the XMP file and put it in the catalog. So now the file's been updated. You'll probably have to regenerate the preview.
If I read it, I'll be able to see what's actually happened to it, won't I? Rather than
You won't see anything. It'll do it in the background. It'll write into the catalog the changes. So it'll go from what it is to what it is now. You won't see, oh, color blue, color this, color that. It'll literally, the picture will just change.
I want to see the changes. I want to physically see the changes.
Well, but you'll have to import it into Classic somehow Or the other way of doing it would be using Lightroom, copying the raw file, copying the XMP file, put it on your desktop, using Lightroom, pointing Lightroom to that file, and then you'll see it.
I did. Okay, Lightroom rather than Classic, because that's what I
Yeah.
did actually, and Classic just didn't recognize it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, book your 20 minutes and we'll sort it out.
Okay.
So for people that don't know, members of our Lightroom community, the annual members, they get every week get 20 minutes one-to-one where things like this that you need problems with and so on. They've got a link to my diary. They book a Zoom whenever's convenient for them, and we have a Zoom call when we talk about things and so on. And every week they get that free of charge, or it's in their membership. So David, if you go to the link and book your 20 minutes, and we'll sort that out. So, but this is why we don't do things outside of Classic. It's a can of worms that you're opening. Okay.
Thank you.
But yeah, I understand what you're trying to do. It's now how do you do it? And what you're asking it to do, it's not designed to do, but we can do it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Anyone got any questions? Go on, Jay.
How do you find syncing, creating the smart preview? I've done on imports, but just recently, how can I find my previous pictures that don't have smart preview?
Okay, that's easy. Correct. Smart collection, and there is a filter in there. Got a smart preview, hasn't got a smart preview.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Straightforward. That's nice, easy. I think it's under the develop down on the drop. So when you create the smart preview, the smart collection, you go to the filter, and I think it's under develop, and it will say smart preview, and then you just say true or false. True means it's got a smart preview. False, it hasn't got a smart preview. And there is all your images, and then you just go select all, create smart previews. And actually, I have that in my work catalog. So if there is any files that haven't got a smart preview, there it is in I've got a collection set called WIP, work in progress, and all the workflow, not images. I've got another collection set for images. Those are like galleries and collections and projects and things like that. I've got a WIP collection set, which is a group of collections that are questions. Show me all my picked images. Show me all my picked images with the keyword of Exmoor. Show me all my whatever, 5-star, 3-star, whatever it is. That's what I call by work in progress. So my digital asset management, I've got a whole collection, got about 40 or 50 smart collections in there and other collections. And one of them in there is show me all my images that have not got smart previews. So I'm one click, there's the answer. I just go select all and
build smart preview.
Build smart previews.
Okay.
So that's a part of it. And the reason why is that sometimes mobile phone images don't generate a smart preview from the cloud. So I need to generate that.
Okay, I see develop and then I'll go, okay, I see how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah. So anyone else got any questions? Anyone need any help with Classic? No?
Well, I need help with Classic, but
So do I. Yeah, I learn every day. As I said last week, I keep on learning. I keep asking, asking questions and so on. So next week we will look at importing and where we import. Okay, and what we can do on import. Because if you get your end goal, understand where you want to get to on your importing, that is 90% of your work done, 95% of your work done. And it's understanding what you can do, what you want to do, and you'll keep, even today, I will keep adjusting that workflow. Oh, I could do this. Oh, I could do that. Oh, that's better. Or an app comes along. I go, oh, that's great. Oh, I could do that. Oh, this will allow me to do this. So it's not setting stone. I keep moving forward. I keep learning that things that make my life easier and quicker and so on. For example, there was one that I was in a conversation with. Oh, yeah, we can use aspect ratio. And they go, what? I said, well, in smart collections, you want to say, show me all the images of sunrise at this location. Yeah, fine. But now you're asking it for a landscape picture. I said, so all you do is you either filter by it or add a new rule to your smart collection, aspect ratio, landscape, or square, or portrait. So the result gives you back the shape, square, of your image. Oh, never realized it does that, was the answer to the question. So it's oh, why do you want these? And that's why I say smart collections are asking questions. Anything, Gary?
No, not really. You give me lots to think about. Think about. There's things you showed me tonight that I didn't realise were there that will just make sense now. It's one of those things that you think, I wish I could do that, and I think, so you can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. Classic and Lightroom are every tool, but we don't need every tool. You know, if you're a chef, do you need all those knives? Do you need all those things and so? No, you don't. But somebody does.
Yeah, yeah.
And until somebody comes along and pokes the bear and says, "Do you know you can do this?" Oh, you could do this, can you? So I'll paint you a scenario here. Everyone used to laugh at me when I photographed cricket and rugby because I'd always used GPS. And one day a customer came to me and says, I want a picture of this particular person at the wicket with the building in the background because he was the builder of the building.
Yeah.
So he wanted a picture. Because I used GPS on all my pictures, I could zoom in onto the map module and say, I want to be standing there. Now show me all the pictures that are keyworded with Marcus Thithothic, get his name out in a minute. Show me all the pictures in that area with Marcus in it. And I'd gone down from 300,000 to 28 images in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So, but that's not for everybody.
No, and it really, I mean, you learn things. I find I learn things because I've got certain types of photography I like to do, and then you'll see somebody do something in a completely different style, and you think, hang on a minute, I could use that. And yeah, that's that's you're right. You're always learning.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if there's no more questions, thank you very much. Lovely to see you. Wednesday, we are looking at the develop functionality of Lightroom. And if we have time, we'll look at syncing it back to Classic. So that's what's on Wednesday. So last week we looked at the develop panel in Classic. We're going to look at the develop panel in Lightroom on the tablet, on your phone, on a desktop, on a web browser, and how that reacts to Classic. So as you say, I can edit any of my images that I've taken anywhere in the world. Don't even need. I can walk into a cyber cafe. I can walk into a hotel with a web browser, and I can edit any of my images. So if somebody says to me, Mark, client says to me, Mark, that picture that you've got, I really like that, but could I have it in black and white? No problem at all. It'll only give them a 10:8 print, or good enough for their brochure. It's good enough for a website. It wouldn't be a big A1 print, but 90% of the situations I can edit it in black and white. I can send them an email with it in there and they'd get an 8 meg file, something like that. and print from it and so on. But that's what we're doing on Wednesday. And then next week, we'll be looking at importing. Okay. Okay, well, no more questions. Thank you very much. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much.
And
Thank you.
see you on Wednesday. Take care. All the best.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.